Very good morning. Welcome to Mornings with Ken Rosato. It is Tuesday, March 24th, 2026, and we'll take your calls at 888-658-0234 to kick things off. Meteorologist Mike Favetta with a forecast near you.
This weather is brought to you by Audio Nova, your hearing experts, serving all of New Jersey with 13 locations.
All right, Mike, so things aren't looking as wacky today, East Coast or West Coast.
No, not as wacky as yesterday. Just a little bit of, if you call it topsy-turvy, we have so much cold on the east, so much hot on the west. It's unusually warm out west, and it's unusually cool out east, considering there's sunshine across most of the country today. So not anticipating anything in the way of rain. Nice and dry with that sunshine early on in the day, and staying that way for the better part of today and tomorrow. A little bit of cloud cover by the end of the week, but overall looking a bit mild. So talk about the record heat that continues again today out west. Temperatures 25 degrees above average there, but we're anywhere from 15 degrees below normal to 20 degrees below average out east, especially in this dark shade of blue. So again, unusual with the disparity in temperatures. At least it'll stay nice and dry across most of the country. We're beautiful today, nice and clear and sunny, and out west stays very warm with that heat building once more. Can't seem to catch a break from that hot weather before some cooler weather moves out east with a cold front that takes over by Wednesday. So we have the beautiful clear sky today, nice and dry, and then by tomorrow evening, a couple clouds return, maybe a few sprinkles, and then by Thursday night into Friday morning, that's when our next front arrives. But that's after a really warm day on Thursday that will send our highs back into the 70s. So lovely weather on the way before the week is through. We'll tell you all about that coming up with a check of your forecast, Ken. That's in a few minutes.
All right, Mike, thank you very much, sir. And we have very light traffic right now, both in the Northeast and the Southwest. Let's start off in the Northeast. We just have truck restrictions reported on the GWB lower level eastbound. All lanes are open. All commercial vehicles exiting exit 73 from Route 46. And all local lanes, please stay to the left. It says use exit 73 to exit from the I-95 express lanes. Your Lincoln Tunnel approach right now is going to cost you 25 minutes in. Holland Tunnel is about 30, and GWB overall right now, upper and lower level, we take a look, very, very, very heavy. Don't know why in the last week it's been so heavy, but it has. So there you have it. It's going to cost you 40 to 45 minutes in at this tender early hour of 7:03 Eastern Time, 4:03 West. We look at the West Coast right now, speaking of which, and we have a collision to report in Antelope Valley at 40th Street East and Barrel Springs Road. There's a collision also on the 105 at Hawthorne Boulevard in West LA, and a collision now Santa Fe Springs on 6th Avenue. This is by 901 6th to be specific. Time is 3 minutes past the hour. The latest now on the LaGuardia crash of a plane and Port Authority fire truck. New video shows the moment the two collided on runway 4. Air traffic control gave the Port Authority fire truck permission to enter the runway to get to a separate plane. This isn't the video, actually, Pam. It is VO1 should have the approach. I don't know if they labeled it or not. But VO1 is a different video. It's the one that shows through the window. Take a look through the window, Pam. All right, that's the most important video. All right, we'll see if we can get that to you. So this video shows the moment that the two collided. Air traffic control gave the Port Authority fire truck permission to enter the runway to get to a separate plane that reported a smell of smoke, and that is why, if you will, why the vehicle was entering the runway. I believe this is it right here. All right, so let's watch what happens. See the plane coming down the runway? That's the truck. So that's the moment of the collision. And the truck entered, and that's the result, the aftermath of the truck. The truck entered the runway, can only enter one runway with permission from ground control or air traffic control because those runways are active. As a result, you see the FAA has issued a closure of that particular runway through Friday, but the other runway at LaGuardia is open. So planes can come into LaGuardia. LaGuardia is open, but they just can't come into the runway that had the accident, obviously. So this is still being investigated. The NTSB was there yesterday. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy gave an update.
NTSB is on the ground at the airport. The FAA is on the ground. Over 10 people from the FAA are here. as well as Transport Canada, is sending a team to LaGuardia as well. Our two countries work very well together. There's a well-worn path where we collaborate together when there's aviation crashes in either of our countries. The administrator and I were at the crash site earlier today, which is easily visible from the airport. And it's incredibly sad. It's troubling. And I just want to let America know that we are working our hearts off to make sure that when people travel, whether by rail or car or by air, that they travel safely.
Well, more than 43 people were rushed to area hospitals. Many, though, have since been released. Time is 6 minutes past the hour now. It's 7:06 East and 4:06 West Coast. And a ground stop had to be issued at Newark Liberty International Airport early yesterday after air traffic controllers there evacuated the tower due to a burning smell coming from an elevator. It wasn't immediately clear what caused the issue, and the agency, it appears says that it appears there wasn't a fire. The delay lasted less than an hour. Fortunately, no one was hurt, but a number of planes had to be delayed. President Trump announced that he would postpone U.S. attacks on Iranian power plants for 5 days, citing productive conversations with Tehran to end the war. Funny thing is, many media members rushed to get Iran's side of it, and Iran said, we never met with him, we never talked to him. So many media members were trying to report that the president was lying. As it turns out, they were having talks, just not direct. They were having talks through Turkey. But right away, the crazy and sick thing is members of American media are willing to trust a theocratic, ultra-left-wing radical regime that has been our enemy for 46 years over the duly elected, majority-elected president of the United States, which tells you a lot where they stand mentally. Just saying. That is disappointing. Markets surged and oil prices dropped on the news. The U.S. has moved to ease sanctions on Iranian oil to cool surging prices globally. More than 2,000 people have been killed across the Middle East as the war enters its fourth week. 13 U.S. service members have been killed. 2 more died of non-combat issues. The grieving family of a New York teen who was gunned down near Loyola University's Chicago campus has described her as deeply loving, as a Venezuelan illegal alien faces charges for her execution-style murder. Jose Medina illegally snuck into the U.S. during the Biden administration and was not deported in spite of being arrested for shoplifting in Chicago in 2023. It's a sanctuary city. So Biden and Chicago's liberal sanctuary city leadership just let him stay. Last Thursday, 18-year-old freshman Sheridan Gorman of Yorktown Heights was allegedly shot dead by the 25-year-old suspect you see on the screen, who was dressed in black clothes and a black mask at 1:30 Thursday morning. The teen was outside with friends because they heard the northern lights were visible, so they wanted to see them. A private service for Gorman will be held Saturday in Westchester County in Yorktown. And amazingly, a Democrat congresswoman made the comment in her car the other day. Basically, it's like, it probably wasn't intentional on his part. Rushing to defend him for what was, according to the witnesses, an execution-style murder where he took the gun and pointed it at her head. So, and this representative was saying, well, it's probably not his fault. It's probably an accident. And I ask you, representative, if that was your sister or your mother whose head was blown off her body because a guy who should never have been here legally, who should not have been here, certainly after he committed a crime, that he was allowed to stay under the previous administration, how would you feel? Think about that. Former FBI Chief Robert Mueller, who with no evidence alleged Russia's interference in the 2016 U.S. election, has died at age 81. Mueller was a decorated Vietnam War veteran. He was known to have Parkinson's disease, but an official cause of death was not released. Many on the right have pointed to Mueller as weaponizing the FBI against Republicans in a way that has probably never been done before. And the U.S. Constitution says that our national election will take place every 4 years, the first Tuesday of November. Some states that allow voting by mail have played fast and loose with that date. States like Illinois, California, and Maryland, among others, say as long as the ballot is postmarked by the first Tuesday in November, it must be counted. The problem that presents, figure it out. The ballots could get lost in the mail for weeks. You could have somebody in Southern California who's an absentee voter voting in Maine and sends it on election day, and it may not get to Maine for 10 days. So, must an entire nation have to wait for the ballots to trickle in weeks after the election? In Florida, the ballot must be received at the Board of Elections by the time the polls close on the first Tuesday of November every 4 years. That's the way they interpret it. Well, the U.S. Supreme Court is now debating the issue. Word has it the justices are leaning toward the Florida method. The court's ruling is expected by June. But think about it. We no longer have an election day. We have an election month or 2 months. So it's not like people will be deprived because they didn't have time. You have 4 to 6 weeks to get your damn ballot in. So if you wait until that day, then at the very least, drive it down to the Board of Elections. But the idea that, oh, you have the right to postmark it that day, and then we all have to wait in the entire country for a month for your letter to get to us is obscene. And that's the way the Supreme Court is starting to lean on that. And the White House has installed a 13-foot statue of Christopher Columbus after the monument was torn down by rioters and tossed into Baltimore's Inner Harbor in 2020 during the riots. The one-ton statue is part of the Trump administration's America 250 celebrations and now sits on the north side of the Eisenhower Executive Office building. The statue was rebuilt in part from salvaged pieces that were broken up by the rioters. It was installed at the White House on Sunday after Baltimore officials declined to restore it to the city's Little Italy neighborhood. So it depends on what ethnic group you are part of in Baltimore. If you are part of an Hispanic group or a Black group, nothing can be done against you. But if you are part of an Italian American group, which helped found the city, you can go screw yourself. And your heroes don't matter, which is basically what the left has said. It is 11 minutes past the hour. The Senate confirmed Mark Wayne Mullen as Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security yesterday, finalizing President Trump's shakeup of DHS following months of scrutiny of Kristi Noem's leadership. It is coming up on 13 minutes past the hour. When we return, how prepared are you for the world of artificial intelligence? What about your family, your kids? We'll speak with an Emmy Award-winning lifestyle expert about how families can raise AI-ready teens. You're going to want to check this out. Meteorologist Mike Favetta will return. He'll have your full forecast, East Coast and West. Right now, 29 degrees in Trenton, 34 degrees northern New Jersey. It is 60 degrees in LA and 62 in San Diego. And we'll take your calls at 888-658-0234, 888-658-0234. You're watching Mornings with Ken Rosato, now live on the East Coast and the West Coast. We'll be back in 2 minutes. Don't go away. Welcome back to Mornings with Ken Rosato. It is Tuesday, March 24th, 2026. Amazing how it is Tuesday already. It feels like the week is just whipping by. Uh, it is time now to check out the forecast near you. Here's meteorologist Mike Favetta.
This weather is brought to you by Audio Nova, your hearing experts, serving all of New Jersey with 13 locations.
All right, Mike. So I'm looking at a temperature variation here, 29 degrees in Trenton, but it's in the mid to upper 30s. Is that possible in northern New Jersey? Is something moving up my way?
There is a little bit of a breeze that'll send temperatures into the 40s today. It's not going to be all that warm. A really chilly afternoon is ahead, but the sunshine helping to warm things up this morning. With the clear sky that's all across the East Coast, it'll feel lovely throughout this afternoon and over the next few days too, especially into tomorrow. I think Thursday see some late night showers that take over into Friday morning, giving us probably a wet start to the day Friday, but Saturday and Sunday looking very dry and cool ahead this weekend. So there's a little bit of a bump in temperatures that'll bring us up into the 70s by Thursday, just the day after tomorrow. Looking at beautiful weather. Nothing like the record heat that's out west, but still we'll keep it a little bit cooler going into the east for today, especially as we head into the next few afternoons with just a little bit of extra pollen around. You've noticed that pollen took a little bit of a dive yesterday thanks to the rain. Well, now it's back to the moderate level with the drier breezes that move on in today. And there's the below average temperatures all through the East Coast with that little bit of a northwesterly wind, but it stays very hot and dry with the record heat out west. That persists going into tomorrow and Thursday and Friday. There's really not much change there with that very warm weather as the cold front starts to sneak in through the northern part of California, but still there's a lot of sunshine and heat with that sinking air aloft. That's what high pressure is, preventing a lot of that cooling effect that you would typically get off of the Pacific. This weekend likely turns a little bit cooler, but until that time, hot weather around with the dry conditions remaining across most of the West Coast. We'll talk more about our weather across the East Coast again coming up in the next few minutes.
All right, sir. Thank you very, very much. We will definitely check back. Oh, by the way, Mike, I want to ask you. I know
hmm
that a lot of people have said that the entire weather pattern feels shifted. Is that the case? I mean, if we talked about this when it started to snow in or I guess in November or whatever, when we had our first snow,
Right.
is it kind of back on track in terms of what temperature should be right now, or are we still a little off by a few weeks?
I think we'll be back on track by April, looking to be a little bit milder by then, but we're cooler than average, and you kind of feel that every morning, with temperatures below the freezing mark, which is for the extended periods of time, not normal, especially when it feels like the teens. That's like February weather, not March weather.
Yeah, okay. Very, very good. Yeah, it's I had some words with Mother Nature this morning when I opened
Oh,
the door
did
and
you?
felt it was 29 degrees. She didn't have nice words back, I'll just say that. But all I know is there's a thundercloud above my house right now, and I'm a little concerned. Just saying. Never, never piss off Mother Nature. Oh, and Pam says there was a layer of ice on her truck, and
Yeah.
that's what happens
hmm
when you piss off Mother Nature. All right, Mike, we'll check back, my friend. Always good to chat with you. It is 29 degrees Trenton, mid 30s right now in northern New Jersey, and it is a beautiful 60 degrees. Of course, the sun isn't up yet, but it's about to come up. 60 in Southern California, in Los Angeles, 61 in San Diego. Love me some Golden State, California. It's a beautiful, beautiful place. We're very blessed to have you as part of our union of 50 states. In terms of traffic, we have, let's see, some congestion issues to report. There are delays going into the Lincoln Tunnel right now. All lanes travel time, they're telling us 30 to 35 minutes from exit 16E. There are also problems on the Turnpike now. Delays on the Turnpike outer roadway northbound in the vicinity of interchange 14, which is 1 and 9 in Elizabeth. Pardon me, all lanes are open, but there's a 2-mile delay, and that's purely volume. Pam, could you bring up one of the 139 cams if you have time? That is the Tunnelly Avenue. Yeah, 139 Tunnelly. This is the approach to the Holland Tunnel, and this we're now told is delayed. So this is delays into the wonderful Holland, which I always stop and call the Harlem Tunnel because I think of the Harlem Line Railroad in the New York area. So there you go. just a line of traffic. It's just, oh, and you could see everybody's merging over. That's why everybody's coming down to one lane. That's why it's starting to build up a little bit. Route 46 delays eastbound from west of 93 in Ridgefield Park to south of 9W Fort Lee. All lanes are open. These are all just delays I'm reading you, by the way. And delays on the Garden State Express lanes northbound south of exit 120, Lawrence Harbor and Matawan to north of exit 72A. Route 4 in Fort Lee, all lanes are open. There's a 2-mile delay due to delays on the GWB. Speaking of which, now we mentioned the Holland Tunnel. That's about a 30-minute delay. And we mentioned the Lincoln Tunnel. That's a 30 to 35-minute delay. Now we look at this mess. This is the GWB. Sorry, George Washington, to call George Washington a mess, but I'm sorry, that is a mess. So at this early hour, at 7:20 in the morning, the GWB is going to cost you 45 minutes, which is just a lot of time to spend to get into Manhattan, Upper Manhattan. But that's what you have. It's been that way pretty much since last week. Try to figure that out. It is 21 minutes past the hour. Artificial intelligence is becoming a part of everyday life, especially for young people. For parents, that brings both opportunity and questions. Tools like ChatGPT being used for homework and problem solving, but families, well, they also want to make sure that teens are using them responsibly. Megan B. Murphy is an author, an Emmy Award-winning lifestyle expert, and a mom. By the way, as I bring Megan up, are you also the same Megan who is the Women's Day editor-in-chief? Tell me if I'm wrong. You could
Yes, I
nod. I
am.
could see you.
I
You
am.
are. You know that not for anything. I used to read Women's Day. There we go. We'll bring you up. When I worked at ABC for 20 years, we used to have it as one of the magazines, and I recognize your name. And my mother can't go a day without your magazine. So good for you. That's wonderful. I
Oh,
said,
that's
we left this off. How do we leave this off the bio? And you're here to talk about how families can raise AI-ready teens. It's an honor to have you on, Megan.
yay! Thank you for having me.
You bet. And please forgive the little throat thing going on here on this end.
Oh,
Normally, I do
I'm
not
with you
sound well.
on that. It's allergy season. Like nothing can be helped.
It's awful. So now this is a fascinating topic, and I'm glad you're touching on this. How much are kids today relying on AI, and are they doing it on a daily basis now? Because I'm hearing
Yeah.
from friends who have kids that this is the thing now.
Yeah. So I'm excited to be talking about ChatGPT because I am a power user. My husband uses it. My teenagers use it. And AI really is a part of everyday teen life, the same way the internet and smartphones were for, generations past. Like AI is a prominent part of their everyday life. They're using it for everything from homework help to creative brainstorming. I see my teens and their friends using it to do really great things. My daughter came up with a whole midterm study schedule using ChatGPT. My 14-year-old son came up with a push-up program to get stronger for lacrosse season. So there are really great uses for it. And I think parents can feel rest assured there are, checks and balances that can help us regulate it.
Yeah, I fully agree. I mean, I use it. The seat I'm sitting in is also my office, and I write the show that we have on right now. Usually, start writing it about 8 o'clock the night before, and I have the phone next to me, and I ask the GOOGLE. I won't say it because I don't want to activate it constantly as I'm fact checking. Fact checking. Can you tell me the date of such? It is now. It's like having a personal assistant next to you. So I too am addicted to it for that purpose. The problem, though, becomes when a student maybe says, "Hey, AI, write me a term paper."
Yeah.
Do you see that? And I guess a teacher could see right through that too, right? The way it's
So I would
displayed now.
There's something called study mode, and it really changes the narrative from give me the answer to help me see the steps to problem solve, to coach me through getting to the correct solution. My daughter goes to a competitive all-girls school, and in her chemistry class, the teacher said, take copious notes, pay attention in class, and then use ChatGPT responsibly to turn those notes into study guides and practice tests. My daughter has an A+ in chemistry. I was a theater and English major, so there is no help for me when it comes to studying for chemistry. But ChatGPT has become like this tutor for her. So there are so many wonderful applications to support learning.
That's brilliant. I didn't realize, and I'm so glad you educated us on that. So it's called study mode?
Study mode. And that's the thing. So ChatGPT has parental controls. My teens' accounts are linked to my accounts. So then I control what they see. I can turn features off. I can turn off, I can set quiet hours and time limits so that they can't use it during school or they can't use it at night. I can turn memory off. I can turn off things like image generation or voice mode if I don't think my teens are responsible enough for it. And ChatGPT is also doing great things to really monitor what younger users are seeing. They're not going to be exposed to as much explicit content or risky online trends or extreme beauty ideals. There are these parental controls that we can put in place and have, some authority as parents.
So now the key is parents getting educated, getting up to speed. What do parents do to get up to speed to understand those controls?
So I think this is so important. We have to have conversations as families around technology and responsible AI use. This is a family conversation. My teens and I are talking about responsible AI use. And then we're using the tool together. So we got a new puppy. We helped ChatGPT help us name the puppy. It helped us come up with a training regimen. I redecorated my boys' room with help from ChatGPT. We wanted to go from kid to teen room. ChatGPT help with that. I use it for family meal planning and recipe development. So using this tool, as a family, having conversations about responsible AI use, and then using those parental controls. I think it's really important to know your teens, to talk to them, to have your account linked so you can really manage that experience.
I love the idea of using it to help guide you in study. I'm still back on that two questions ago, because how many times have we been stuck and it's ruined our whole study when you get home? You're like, well, I don't know if I'm going this way or that way. And then for the rest of the night, you're jammed. You don't know where to go and you're nervous and you're going to screw up the test the next day.
And I also
ChatGPT
think
can actually guide you.
Exactly. And as a parent, I don't remember algebra, right? I haven't studied algebra or chemistry or physics or some of these subjects for 25, 30 years. I can't be of assistance, but ChatGPT can. It's been like a tutor in my household, and my students are thriving. And I think that ChatGPT is a part of that.
Amazing. Amazing. The only thing is I'm looking at all the industries going, so tutors will be gone. The other day I used one of the AIs to design a new logo for our show, and it took 5 minutes. And we kept giving it extra instructions, and it kept coming out with a better and better logo. And I thought graphic design people would be paid thousands for this. So there's good and there's bad, I guess, but using it as a tool as opposed to as a replacement, I guess, is really the answer here.
Exactly. I'm an early adopter. I embrace technology. I think we have to be future forward. The world is going to look different, but that's also exciting.
It sure is. Author, Emmy Award winning lifestyle expert, clearly a professional all around, mom, and the editor in chief, I should say, of Woman's Day,
Yeah.
Megan B. Murphy. Thank you so much for coming on this morning. We'd
Yeah.
love to have you back anytime.
And you can go to chatgpt.com/parents little dash controls to really see that whole hub and really kind of set those parental controls.
That is definitely the key because I know a number of my friends who are parents who never realize. So give it one more time. Give that one more time, please.
So it is chatgpt.com/parents controls.
Excellent. It's a great tool. It's a great tool. I thank you so much, Megan. Have a wonderful
for
day.
having me.
Appreciate you. You
Yeah.
bet. Thank you for coming on. It is 28 minutes past the hour. When we come back, former New Jersey Assemblyman John Wisniewski joins us to talk about AI in New Jersey and how lawmakers are working to keep up. The phone lines are open, taking your calls at 888-658-0234. We're back in 2 minutes. Don't go away. Very good morning. 30 minutes past the hour, Tuesday, March 24th, 2026. Welcome back to Mornings with Ken Rosato, live on the East Coast in New Jersey and New York, and now the West Coast, Los Angeles and San Diego. Thank you for joining us at ONLACA. Meteorologist Mike Favetta has the forecast near you.
This weather is brought to you by Audio Nova, your hearing experts, serving all of New Jersey with 13 locations.
All right, Mike, up to 63 in LA right now, just saying, while it's still a
Yeah.
chilly 29 in Trenton.
And it's really not getting all that warm today across the East Coast. Granted, we'll have the sunshine, which will make it look pretty. And it's beautiful right now with the clear sky up and down the East Coast. But even into the end of the week, some clouds return as soon as tomorrow afternoon, giving way to warmer weather by Thursday. And look what happens by Thursday night. Our next cold front lines up across the Northeast, sweeps on through, and gives us a chilly finish to the work week. By then, into Saturday and Sunday, you see that's when the clouds return across the West Coast, and that will start to cool things down after a week of yet again record-setting heat. And then going into next week, some rain moves into the Pacific Northwest and across the east. I think we see some better chances of showers, but overall, it looks to be nice and dry for the meantime, and especially with that dry weather taking over right now. Winds off of from the north and west, making us feel a little chilly this morning, and really across the country we're pretty quiet weather-wise. Out west, that big heat continues, and that will likely stay put over the next several days. So with that future cast showing the high pressure in control over the next few days, especially today, beautiful dry weather, but we start to see a little bit of a southwesterly breeze take over into the end of the day. Usually that would bring us warm weather in a hurry, but in fact it just gives us some extra clouds by the afternoon tomorrow. Then for Thursday, we start off nice and dry, likely see some clouds by the end of the day, but I think on Thursday our temperatures really spike back into the upper 60s before late Thursday night into Friday morning. That's our cold front that gives us some rain to start off the day on Friday and keeps us a little wet going into the end of the day. And then we clear out for the weekend, but it's much cooler, and that cooler trend takes over. Speaking of the temperature outlook going into the first week of April, warmer than average conditions for most of the country, even spreading into the east. So anticipate a warmer start to April as opposed to the very chilly start we had for most of the country, and then that drier weather taking over, especially along the East Coast, with drier than average conditions for the first few days of April, Ken.
All right, thank you very much, Mike. We have chilly still, 29 degrees in Trenton. It's 35 northern New Jersey. Going to Southern California, we have 63 degrees, Los Angeles, 63 also in San Diego. In terms of traffic right now, a debris spill to report on 195. This is westbound at exit 5, Route 130, Hamilton Township. Right lane of 2 lanes on the right shoulder are closed. You can see the mess that's causing there for folks trying to get to work. We also have some congestion to report right now in New Jersey on the Turnpike. Delays on the outer roadway, northbound from north of Interchange 12, Carteret Rawway, to south of Interchange 13 by the Goethals Bridge exit in Linden. All lanes open, but there's a 2-mile delay, all due to volume. And we have another issue on the Turnpike. It is delays to report. It's on the outer roadway northbound from north of this is Interchange 13 by the Goethals Bridge in Linden. All lanes open, 2-mile delay. So apparently they're bumper to bumper, back to back, so to say, those two delays. On 287, delays northbound from south of exit 9, River Road and Piscataway to north of exit 10. Easton Avenue in Franklin Township. All lanes are open there. The Hudson River crossings right now, Lincoln Tunnel is going to cost you 35 minutes in. Holland is 25 to 30 in. GWB is an absolute mess. It's been bumper to bumper all morning. This is now a 45-minute delay making your way into Manhattan. On the West Coast, we have some issues right now in central LA. There's a collision to report on the 10 at Western Avenue. We have a collision also on Barrel Springs Road at 40th Street East in Antelope Valley. And in West LA at the 105 and Hawthorne Boulevard, another collision to report. It's 35 minutes past the hour. As artificial intelligence continues to grow, New Jersey lawmakers are trying to keep up. A new package of bills will regulate how AI is used across industries while protecting consumers. Former State Assemblyman John Wisniewski is here to talk about that. Good morning, John. Good to have you on today.
Good to be with you, Ken. Good morning.
You bet. Hey, nice to see you. So this is definitely needed. We just had another expert on AI on talking about how there are parental controls, but I bet you a lot of parents don't even know about it. So what's new in this package of AI bills?
Well, it's a package of 5 bills, and it tries to address things that are obviously of concern. Um, Chatbots be involved in elections, but it also requires disclosure. And I think it's a well-intentioned package. The problem is that, especially in this field, that it is so evolving, it is so new that some of the terms that are used in the legislation could be antiquated, they could be bypassed. It's a very fluid situation. I think there needs to be some level of regulation, but I think that it's such an imprecise act that the legislature, if they do this, will have to come back and modify it as the technology evolves.
100%, because and of course there's always the issue, we don't want countries like China to surpass us with AI technology, but if we don't do any regulating, this could get very dangerous. One example I always give all the time, John, is when writing stories, I tested one night. I tested asking when President Obama was elected, which year. Just slipped my mind which of the years he actually took office. And one of the answers I got was Barack Hussein Obama was never elected president of the United States. That was one of the answers. I also got the same thing for Donald Trump. And I'm thinking, if this is supposed to scour the internet for data, why is this coming back to me? And it was one of the bigger, it was actually Google's AI that came back with that data. So if I'm a student and I don't know history, I would take that for fact. And that's what's unnerving about it.
Well, I think you raise an interesting point, and I was listening, preparing for our talk this morning, other conversations about AI, and obviously one of the big concerns is for young people who are graduating college or about to graduate college or graduating with professional degrees. How does this change my marketability? And I think it becomes a question of knowing how to use AI, knowing how to filter. It's just like you go into a library and you want to read the history of the Vietnam War. Now, there are going to be a number of books written, some that are going to be written in a way that says, the U.S. military had its hands tied behind his back by rules of engagement. And there are some that are going to say that it was going to be impossible to beat the Viet Cong because they lived a different lifestyle. They fought a different war. We were refighting World War II. They were fighting a guerrilla war. And so what's going to be important in the future is being able to ask the right questions to AI, knowing how to frame them, but also knowing, just like if you read 10 books on the Vietnam War, how to synthesize that data, analyze it, and make your own decisions. I think this notion that AI will enable us to kind of check our discretion, our evaluation at the door is where the mistake comes in.
100%. John, one of the proposals, of course, I see focuses on deceptive AI in advertising. And you see, by the way, have you been on YouTube lately? And go through YouTube. I went on YouTube the other, I used to be a Catholic priest and years ago, and I saw a story that it piqued my interest. It said, breaking, Pope just signs letter to 12 cardinals firing them. And it looked very authentic. And of course, they had an AI generated priest. The AI, if you didn't know to look carefully, you would think it was a real man. And he gave all this information with specific names. Guess what? None of the names was real. But if I am just Googling past, I'm thinking, wow, there's a big problem in the church. 3,000 comments. People didn't see that it was AI. 3,000 comments. Our church is falling apart. This is the problem with the deceptive AI. Clearly, whoever put that up was just looking for clicks and money. They didn't care that it was a total lie. But this hopefully would regulate stuff like that.
Well, it will regulate stuff in New Jersey. And therein lies part of the trick, right? The New Jersey legislature has the ability to pass laws that impact activities, things that are done in the state. But if you have, for instance, say a provider of information, I won't call it news, that has that kind of content about the Pope and the cardinals, and they're located in California, how is the New Jersey law going to be able to actually regulate that content that's being generated in California or maybe generated outside the country. And there lies the trick, because if you start having to then have a national or statewide filter on content, it sounds a lot like censorship.
Mhm. It's a tough line to straddle, right? It's for safety's sake, but at the same time, you don't want to inhibit that open thought that we pride ourselves with as Americans. So, what will people notice in New Jersey? What is the average person going to see once these bills become law?
Well, I think it's premature to say that the bills will become law. I think there'll be versions of some of the ideas that will ultimately become law. My experience in the legislature is when members introduce bills like this at the beginning of a session, they form the basis of conversations in which some will actually advance, some will actually not move past having been introduced. And so it's hard to say at this point in time, but there are a couple of things that I think are very easy. If you're using artificial intelligence, say in a call center, or you're using artificial intelligence to put up data on a website, having a disclosure, let's say you're an aggregator of election results and you have a website, you're putting information up to put a disclosure on that saying this information has been aggregated by artificial intelligence might be a very moderate but practical step to make sure that people are at least pausing to think that, okay, this is not generated by a person, this is generated by a computer.
Fascinating. Well, I know this is going to be changing rapidly, so hopefully you'll come back on and tell us more as this moves forward, one way or the other. Brilliant attorney, good friend, and former State Assemblyman John Wisniewski. Always a pleasure having you on, my friend. Enjoy the day.
Good being with you, Ken. Thanks.
You bet. It is 43 minutes past the hour. When we come back, a special election taking place here in New Jersey to replace the congressional seat vacated by Governor Mikey Sherrill. We'll talk with a person hoping to take over that role. We'll be back in 2 minutes. Welcome back to Mornings with Ken Rosato. It's 45 minutes past the hour. We'll take your calls at 888-658-0234. Meteorologist Mike Favetta has the forecast for your city.
This weather is brought to you by Audio Nova, your hearing experts, serving all of New Jersey with 13 locations.
I don't know, but I'm starting to hear things with my sinus infection. I thought I heard a dog bark. Could that be Rocco?
Yeah, that's him. That's him. The
Okay.
baby's up, so now he's got to go say hello. With so much sunshine today, you might be getting up early saying, "Wow, it looks beautiful out." And then you step outside and go, "Okay, it's a little too chilly." And that's the case today. We start off with this really cool pattern that sticks around for the next several days. Sunny and dry, but a little chilly, with temperatures that will mimic that more of mid-February rather than late March. Out west is where you go for the heat. All of this record heat setting up again today, all the way from the coast even through the west. And with our forecast pointing to really chilly weather across the east again today, temperatures are anywhere between 10 to 15 degrees below average right through this afternoon. So we thank the high pressure for keeping us nice and dry today, but it does stay chilly through this afternoon. And then the clouds return tomorrow with a little shot of rain late Thursday night into Friday. However, we warm nicely into the upper 60s, maybe near 70 for most of the state by Thursday. That's not California, that's New Jersey. That'll look great. California stays nice and dry going into the next few days with that above average heat lasting into at least say Friday, Saturday timeframe before it starts to cool down. We have lovely clear sky ahead for us for the next few days until later tomorrow evening. A couple clouds move through, but our next shot of rain, Ken, is on Friday morning. We'll tell you more about that with your New Jersey forecast coming up in just a few minutes.
All right, Mike, thank you. 747 East Coast, 447 West Coast. Right now, we have a temperature of 29 degrees in Trenton, 36 degrees northern New Jersey, and the temperature in Los Angeles, 63, 64 in San Diego. In terms of traffic, let's go over to this debris spill that we have on 195. This is westbound by exit 5, Route 130 in Hamilton Township. The right lane of 2 lanes and the right shoulder are closed, if we have that. I don't know if we have that. Pam? Not? Yes? No? I thought we had the debris spill. Lost it. All right. No worries. We got it. All right. So this is the debris spill. So there we have it. So this is again on Hamilton or in Hamilton Township. Right lane of 2 lanes and right shoulder closed. Debris spill 195 westbound. There's also a crash with injuries on 15 southbound south of Edison Road in Jefferson. Left lane is closed. And we have just a lot of congestion now, East Coast congestion we do. So on the Jersey Turnpike, we have delays right now northbound by the exit ramp from interchange 15E to 1 and 9 in Newark. All lanes open. It's just delays right now to report, and that's causing the problems on 1 and 9. And we have delays on 21 northbound from Clay Street, Mount Pleasant Avenue to Grafton Avenue, Newark. All lanes are open on Route 21, but nonetheless delayed. Over to the Hudson River crossings, the Holland Tunnel is reporting 30 minutes in. It's 35 at the Lincoln. And right now, the GWB, we are 45 to 50 solid. Look at the upper and lower levels, upper level on the right, lower level on the left. To the west coast, we go now to California, central LA. We have a traffic collision on the 10 at Western Avenue to report. Also, a collision in Antelope Valley at 40th Street East and Barrel Springs Road, and a collision in West LA at the 105 and West Hawthorne Boulevard. Our time is 49 minutes past the hour. Here in New Jersey, we have a special election taking place. It's to replace the congressional seat vacated when Mikey Sherrill became Governor Mikey Sherrill. Joe Hathaway is currently the mayor of Randolph and is the Republican congressional nominee for District 11. Good morning and welcome, Joe.
Hey, Ken, thanks so much for having me. Appreciate it.
Nice to have you on. So here's a question. I used to live in North Caldwell, which was that district. And I remember when we had Mr. Frelinghuysen, who was a congressman, and it was, even though it was never a conservative district in the last 20 years, but it was certainly a Republican district. How did this district get so far to the left in such a short amount of time?
Well, listen, we can always thank political gerrymandering for some of this kind of stuff, Ken. But I would push back a little bit on your argument there, because I believe the vast majority of voters in this district, regardless of party, are looking for a representative in this race that is going to bring common sense, practical leadership, success at the local level, knowledge of the Jersey issues, and bring that down to Washington. And in this race, there's only one candidate who has that. It's me. Anna Lilia Mejia has run and won on in her primary a platform of radical progressive socialism. And I believe that this district may lean left now, Ken, but it is not supportive of those kind of policies that are completely out of touch with everyday people who just want things to get done for us in New Jersey.
So here's what I advise people who call themselves moderate Democrats. Go on YouTube and listen to anything posted by Analia Mejia. She makes Ilhan Omar and AOC sound like conservatives. She is a radical, nasty, I'm sorry to say, and she's welcome to come on and tell me I'm wrong, but she has a mouth on her. She is a very nasty individual. Now, I know I'm not going to ask you to comment on that. Those are my words. And I don't say that because she's a Democrat. I have plenty of friends who are Democrats. We just had one on. John Wisniewski was just on a minute ago. He's a great guy. I am talking about I don't like acerbic nastiness. And that is what she is. And that is not what this district is. And I lived in that district for 13 years. So that's why I'm so stunned. I think a lot of people who have moved to the district since the pandemic see a D and just vote, and they don't look at the candidate. What are the top issues that you are hearing from voters in your district, and how are you going to win them over?
Well, yeah, Ken, look, I mean, the top issues I think across the board are always something like affordability in New Jersey. And a lot of our platforms are geared at driving affordability by lowering the tax burden, by lowering costs for home ownership or child care or investing in vocational training. But you hit on something that's exactly right. You know, voters should have the opportunity to hear my platform and Miss Mejia's platform side by side and make that decision themselves. On New Jersey, you know, offered to host us a debate. We've accepted this debate, this opportunity to debate, and numerous others. Miss Mejia has dodged every single opportunity and even has kind of spun up lies about why she doesn't want to debate. Look, I think that alone is an issue that not only Republicans and unaffiliated voters should take concern with, but you are seeing a wedge driven in her Democrat Party between moderates who don't want someone who is going to skirt the democratic system to get what they want. That's why we've actually already received 3 Democrat endorsements at the local level, including in North Caldwell, because people don't want radical rhetoric representing them in Washington. They want practical common sense.
I think the vast majority of Democrats in the state of New Jersey, just like the vast majority of Republicans, are not extremists. They're very middle of the road. And it's, I mean, I live half the year in Florida where we tend to be. I say we because I'm still a half citizen there, half citizen here. I do pay my New Jersey taxes, by the way. Just want to
For
make
that.
that clear. A lot of people have the Florida address and don't pay the taxes. I do. But what I see is that New Jersey is very moderate. In fact, that's why Republican versus Democrat, the independents are always the largest group in the state of New Jersey. New Jersey is like live and get live, you know, live and let live, rather. So affordability, you mentioned, that's the Democrat buzzword this year. And we kind of have to take it on as Republicans because it is the word that they've talked about. But one thing that they neglect to say is Democrats are the governor's office, the both houses, Assembly and Senate in this state. They are also 9 of the 12 current Congress seats. They or temporarily 8 of the 12 because we have one absent. They are both U.S. senators and the top 15 largest cities, all Democrat run. And yet they talk about affordability like somehow it just happened. So how do you get that message that, hey, maybe we have to shift direction?
Well, yeah, absolutely. I mean, unless, you know, Democrat legislators and the governor's office in New Jersey has just been asleep at the wheel for the last 30 years. I mean, it's pretty clear as we've seen our state budget grow, you know, by billions and billions of dollars, right? Where we can kind of focus the attention of this lack of affordability. But look, Ken, you know, I think this is something that we're seeing now in this race. Where the Democrat Party is moving further and further in the other direction. We're seeing it now in New York City, having elected now Mayor Mamdani ran on a socialist platform, is now going to drive costs through the roof, crushing New York families. We're seeing it in Jersey City. This is now the latest attempt at the socialist wing of the Democrat Party to pass this radical type of agenda in New Jersey 11. This is an opportunity for Republicans, independents, and moderate Democrats to come together and say enough is enough. We don't want this type of radical rhetoric representing us. We want a common sense, independent voice, a practical leader who's gotten results at the local level, who knows us and can fight for us and work for us down in Washington. This is a unique opportunity to bring everyone together to accomplish that goal, Ken.
All right. So now let's get right down to brass tacks. What is your approach to economic growth and supporting local businesses in your district? Randolph is doing great. So what's the means of making that happen?
Absolutely. Well, look, again, it starts with how can we lower taxes and lower costs in the first place? Look, I think what we've seen with tariffs, big picture down in Washington have hurt our small businesses. I think we need to take a much more of a scalpel approach to things like tariffs rather than a hammer and a negotiating tool. Because with those kind of uncertainties, right, I've talked to small business owners, they can't plan, they can't forecast, they can't hire as many people because they don't know where their tax rate is going to land or how they're going to have to pay for things like tariffs. We can also increase our vocational training. We have great partners like the County College of Morris in my backyard, where we can get people equipped, young people who don't want to take on student loan debt and a 4-year degree, get them equipped, get them certified, get them on with their career and into our economy right off the bat. These are common sense things we can do to drive our economy. When you compare that to socialist programs like socialized medicine, socialized taxpayer-funded college for everyone, that is going to crush our small business community more taxes. We cannot have that here in our district.
If elected, what would be your first priority when taking office?
Look, I mean, I think my first priority, Ken, honestly, would be to go down to Washington, join the Problem Solvers Caucus, a caucus of Republicans and Democrats who come to the middle, who know they don't agree on everything, but work for the people they represent to pass legislation and to make Congress a leader again, make Congress the first branch by getting things done for the people of our district. When you compare that to what Ms. Mejia has run on, a platform of any old blue won't do, I mean, not only is she unwilling to work with a Republican majority to work for the people of our district, she's saying she's not willing to work with moderates in her own party if they don't fall in line with her radical socialist agenda. That isn't how we're going to get anything done. That is going to do nothing for the people of our district. So I want to lead by coming to the table and getting things done for the people of NJ11.
We're going to make a public invitation right now. Analia Mejia, you are welcome to come on this broadcast. We will give you the same amount of time that we gave to Mayor Joe Hathaway. And I promise we will just ask straight line questions and let you answer. This is not going to be an attack session. You will have your opportunity to talk. So she's welcome to come on. Let's see if we get a response. Randolph Mayor Joe Hathaway running for Congress in District 11 special election. Thanks for coming on this morning.
Thanks so much for having me, Ken. Really appreciate it.
You bet. 58 minutes past the hour. For those of you watching on LACA on the West Coast, stay tuned for your local news. If you're watching on New Jersey, we'll be back live with New Jersey news, opinion, weather, and traffic. Thanks for watching Mornings with Ken Rosato. Very good morning. It's 8 a.m. Tuesday, March 24th, 2026. Welcome to On New Jersey Mornings. I'm Ken Rosato, and we'll take your calls at 888-658-0234. Sunshine today in the state of New Jersey. Highs about 49. We head to meteorologist Mike Favetta with a check of the Garden State forecast.
This weather is brought to you by Audio Nova, your hearing experts, serving all of New Jersey with 13 locations.
It's almost like a San Diego forecast, if only 20 degrees warmer.
Almost. I mean, it's a lot better than yesterday, where it was just raw and cold and kind of damp most of the day, especially with the clouds. We have sunshine to start the day, so that's a brighter note. And with highs that will ultimately climb into the upper 40s, like Ken mentioned, we start off rather chilly right now on either side of freezing across the state. And with that, we're running a good 18 degrees cooler than this time yesterday, because remember, that cold front hadn't quite passed through the southern half of the state. So at 8 a.m. yesterday, yes, it was much cooler, but it was just about the same temperature over across northern New Jersey, where that front had already moved on through. Wind gusts this morning up to about 20 miles per hour, but it's a drier wind from the north and west, keeping our skies clear and bringing back that sun today across all of the clinic locations there in New Jersey for Audio Nova. Temperatures climbed to about 50 there in central New Jersey by Monroe. So we have a little bit of a milder trend today, but I think the real warm up, that'll come for Thursday, where those highs could exceed expectations, getting all the way up into the 60s, maybe even some low 70s. For the rest of the day, we're rather dry. We stay clear into this afternoon. Tomorrow could see a late evening sprinkle. But then as we head into Thursday, look at the clearing, bringing our highs back into the 70s, and then some rain takes over later Thursday night into Friday morning, kind of giving us a gray start to the weekend, but I think we clear out just in time. The forecast over the next few days looks very pleasant, especially with Thursday's high. Again, with the breaks in the clouds and some sunshine, could make it up to 70 in spots before cooling back down into the 50s with that rain late Thursday going into Friday morning. We'll tell you all about it with another check of your forecast, Ken. Coming up, the weekend weather ahead, and it looks pretty decent going into Easter week. That's coming up.
See, this is why you're my favorite meteorologist on the planet. That as of yesterday, you were telling me what the weekend was going to be. That's you keep nice
Very
thoughts in
important.
my head. It's like when I was 8 years old and it was the end of November and I was already thinking ahead to Christmas morning. That's what you do for me when you do stuff like that, Mike. Thank you very much, sir. We'll check back
You
with you in a
bet.
little bit. It is 35 degrees northern New Jersey, 29 degrees in Trenton. It's 31 degrees right now in Cape May and 31 also in Vineland. In terms of traffic, we have a crash right now in the Garden State Parkway northbound by exit 142A, which is by 78 East in Hillside Township. You could see the crash there off by that little divider. Everybody trying to get off to the left. By the way, there is a law in New Jersey and in most states, I think it's 30 states, that if you see a crash or an emergency vehicle, you are supposed to either A, move over one lane, or B, get down by 20 miles an hour. So if it's a 50-mile-an-hour limit, it's supposed to get down to at least 30 miles an hour out of safety for the people in that lane. So I see most of the people are following that rule, except for that car right there. Slow down. Slow down. Give people a break there and help them to get some help. Okay, in terms of other issues we have right now, debris spill right now, and this is on 195 westbound by exit 5, which is Route 130 in Hamilton Township. Right lane of 2 lanes and the right shoulder are closed. You can see this has been there for about an hour or so. You can see it's still there, causing some issues. Your Hudson River crossings right now, the Lincoln and Holland are both reporting 35 minutes in. GWB, upper and lower level, has been bumper to bumper all morning long. We take a look at it. Slightly wider angle. Upper levels on the right, lower on the left. This is extraordinarily heavy. This has been this way now for like a week. Each morning, it's just been terrible. So they're talking 45 to 50 minutes into Manhattan on the GWB. Good luck with that. It is coming up on 8:05 now, and the latest on the LaGuardia crash of a plane and Port Authority fire truck. We have some new video that shows the moment the two vehicles collided, and it happened on runway 4. So it'll be popping up in a second. That's what the plane looked like last night. You could see, by the way, people were asking online, I saw on social media, why is the plane popped up in the air? Well, apparently when it collided with the fire truck and the nose got torn off, it shifted the balance of the weight of the plane. Those planes are literally balanced perfectly so that when they're up in the air flying, they don't tilt in one direction or another. So it's centered perfectly centered. Well, you shear off 1,000 pounds of weight on the front, suddenly it does that. That's part of the reason. So what you're looking at there, that's the moment that the impact occurred with the fire truck, and that's the result. That's what the fire truck looks like right now. Amazingly, there were 2 Port Authority officers in that truck. By the way, Port Authority officers are trained 3 ways. They're trained simultaneously as police officers, firefighters, and EMTs. So there were 2 of those trained officers on that truck. They are alive, they were injured, but they were driving the truck when the truck was struck by the plane. The plane was coming in for a landing. It was at about 100 miles an hour when it collided with that truck. It's amazing the people in the truck weren't injured, but it tells you how heavy those fire trucks are. Fire trucks are probably the heaviest, outside of a tank, the heaviest land vehicle there is. And if not for that, there you go, right there again. Those 2 Port Authority officers would have been killed. People on the plane said that the pilots jammed on the brake as they came in for a landing. And of course, once the cockpit was sheared off, there was no more control. It's amazing that whatever last control they inputted for the brakes managed to get the plane to stop, and the plane did not continue rolling. Otherwise, there could have been many more fatalities. Those pilots, who are both deceased now, I believe it was a man and a woman who were piloting that jet. Young, nice pilots with a full career ahead of them, both dead. And they gave their lives to protect the passengers and crew on that jet. It's amazing. In fact, there was even a story of one of the 2 flight attendants was dangling from her seat, or his seat. They were located just at the very, very front, right behind where the cockpit was torn off, and their seat was dangling down by cables. And but they survived. So everybody but the 2 pilots did survive. But this will be investigated, of course. We should let you know that there is an investigation going on with the NTSB right now. And the airport is reopened, but the runway where this occurred is closed. So right now, pardon me, the opposite runway, they have runways that run kind of perpendicular to each other. And the second runway at LaGuardia is open to air traffic, but this primary runway is closed and will be until at least Friday. Now, yesterday, as this was just shortly after this was happening, a ground stop had to be issued at Newark Liberty International Airport. This happened early yesterday after air traffic controllers there evacuated the tower due to a burning smell coming from an elevator. It wasn't immediately clear what the cause was. The agency running the airport says it appears there was not a fire. The delay lasted less than an hour. Nobody was hurt, but a number of flights had to be delayed in terms of landing. It was about an hour. President Trump announced that he would postpone U.S. attacks on Iranian power plants for 5 days, citing productive conversations with Tehran to end the war. Markets surged and oil prices dropped on that news. The U.S. has moved to ease sanctions on Iranian oil to cool surging prices globally. More than 2,000 people have been killed across the Middle East as the war enters its 4th week. 13 U.S. service members have been killed. 2 more died of non-combat issues. CNN chief data analyst Harry Enton said on Thursday that congressional Democrats have reached a record low level of popularity.
How are voters feeling about Democrats right now?
Yeah, I mean, Democrats in the minds of the American public are lower than the Dead Sea. What are we talking about here? Well, let's take a look. The net approval rating for Democrats in Congress, you said it, Kate Baldwin, the lowest ever. Look at this. Overall, they are 55 points underwater. Their approval rating is south of 20%. It's even worse when you look at independents. Look at this. Negative 61 points. That means that their approval rating is 61 points lower than their disapproval rating. Quinnipiac has been polling this question for the better part of the 21st century. They have never found Democrats, at least those in Congress, in worse shape than they are right now.
Only 18% of voters approve of how congressional Democrats are managing their roles. 73% disapprove of that, according to Quinnipiac University. As you heard Harry Anton say, they did a national survey of registered voters published on Wednesday. Enton said the popularity numbers marked a significant downturn from October as we inch closer to the all-important midterm elections. This comes on the heels of a Reuters Ipsos poll published on December 11th that found that 46% of Americans age 50 and older, who tend to vote more in non-presidential elections like this than younger voters, said they intended to vote for a Republican. Only 38% said they would vote for Democrat. It is 8:10 right now, and Savannah Guthrie is desperately pleading to the Arizona community to bring renewed attention to her mom Nancy's kidnapping case. The 54-year-old journalist and her brother and sister asked for the community to search their memories, especially the night that 81-year-old Nancy disappeared on January 31st. Savannah said that no detail was too small. Anything could end up breaking the case. Nancy was first reported missing from her Tucson home on February 1st. Last month, Savannah revealed that she and her family accepted that Nancy may be dead as they offered $1 million for her return. Savannah returned to the Today Show set earlier this month. Well, there's a new destination for luxury watch lovers in our area. Vacheron Constantin has officially opened a new boutique at the mall at Short Hills, beautiful mall, bringing one of the world's most respected watchmakers to New Jersey. Inside, visitors can explore the full Vacheron Constantin collection, I should say, from classic understated styles to highly intricate timepieces, along with exclusive models only available in a boutique like this one. The opening is also part of the brand's long relationship with America, which dates back to 1832, by the way, and now brings that history, craftsmanship, and elegance to the Short Hills shopping experience. One standout feature inside the boutique is the watchmaking wall, which gives visitors a closer look at the precision, detail, and artistry behind each timepiece. It's all part of Vacheron Constantin's long-standing commitment to excellence in fine watchmaking. The boutique also includes a strap customization bar where clients can choose from different colors, materials, and stitching options to create a more personal look. And for collectors or clients looking for more private experiences, there's also a VIP lounge designed to let guests explore the brand at their own pace. Visitors can discover collections including Patrimoine Traditionnel, Overseas 56, Égérie, Métier d'Art, and Historique, now at the mall at Short Hills. Check it out. The Hackensack Performing Arts Center has received a $500,000 grant from the New Jersey Economic Development Authority. The initiative will introduce a series of new arts, cultural, and community events across downtown Hackensack. HackPack, as it's called, will be one of 39 organizations awarded funding. And there's a winner for the 4th annual Monmouth County Travel Guide Cover Photo Contest. The Monmouth County Board of County Commissioners is excited to announce Gary Gelman, a Howell resident, has been selected as the winner of the 4th annual Monmouth County Travel Guide Cover Photo Contest. It's Gary Gelman with his stunning aerial image of the Seagirt Lighthouse. Congratulations, Gary. You're watching On New Jersey Mornings. We're back in 2 minutes. Welcome back to On New Jersey Mornings. I'm Ken Rosato at 8:15. We'll take your calls at 888-658-0234. Sunshine today, highs of 49. Straight to meteorologist Mike Favetta with the full Garden State forecast.
This weather is brought to you by Audio Nova, your hearing experts, serving all of New Jersey with 13 locations.
All right, Mike, at least it looks promising out there. It's now 32 in Trenton, 34 northern New Jersey. You look outside, you see sunshine. This is good.
Yeah, we're getting heading in the right direction, right? We're getting there, working back toward typical March, especially with the clear sky, nice improved visibility as compared to yesterday, and the satellite looks nice and clear as well. So this is setting us up for a great day ahead with our highs in central New Jersey warming anywhere from 46 at the coast to 50 west of the Parkway. Remember, the water temperatures in the Atlantic still a little chilly, so anticipate a few degrees cooler there. But as we head into tomorrow, a little bit of a southerly breeze takes over, warming us throughout our Thursday before the wind switches direction again, blowing from the north and west, cooling us right back down into chilly territory this weekend. As far as the wind chill, notice a little bit more of a colder feel into the morning tomorrow, but by Thursday, even tomorrow night into Thursday, we really see things warm up through the afternoon and then turn quickly into the 60s and 70s before those temperatures come crashing down on Friday with a little bit of rain. And then it gets really chilly again. So, Ken was talking about how we're seeing the little bit of a shift to cooler weather. Well, we're right back to the chill into this weekend with wind chills in the teens. The teens on Saturday morning. We can't keep it consistently warm because we have these rounds of cold air that come in that kind of blast us back into what's feeling like winter. So with the clear sky today and tomorrow, it looks great to start. And then the future cast brings back a little bit of that cloud cover and light rain Thursday night into Friday. But again, we see that nice warming trend that takes us into Thursday afternoon. There's the warm front providing a little light shower tomorrow, but back in the upper 60s and low 70s before rain gets going on Friday, and that clears out for a dry but cooler weekend. While the weekend is sunny, next week starts off rather pleasant. A little bit of a milder trend as well. Not exactly warm just yet. I think we have to wait a few more weeks for the consistently warm weather. That is until we get to at least the first few days of April. So the weekend's looking dry for now. Temperatures start off in the 40s, climbing to the 50s. That little bit of rain that comes in on Friday should dry things out nicely come Saturday, Ken.
All right. Thank you very much, Mike. Appreciate you, sir. It is, again, 37 degrees now, northern New Jersey, 32 degrees in Trenton. And we do have some issues with trafic, if you will, a little French pronunciation there. Let's go to the Garden State Parkway. This is northbound at exit 148, and this is purely due to volume. But you can see this time of the morning, this is what happens. So bumper to bumper. A lot of slowdown there. That's going to bring you down to about 10 to 15 miles an hour. That's through the Bloomfield area. We also have a crash reported on the Garden State Parkway, but it looks like it may be getting cleared up right now, northbound at exit 142A by 78 in Hillside. That's a little further south of this. And we also have some slowdowns of the Hudson River crossings. Take a look here. We'll do the GWB in a minute. First, the Hudson River crossings at the Lincoln and Holland. We're told it's about 35 minutes for each. GWB, upper and lower level, bumper to bumper, and it's been this way all morning long. Look at that jam. On the right side, you have the upper level. Left side, you have the lower level. It's going to cost you 45 to 60 minutes into Manhattan as you get in at 179th Street. Just an absolute mess of traffic. It is 8:19 right now, and a new mental health resource is open in Westfield, aiming to expand access to treatments for those struggling with depression and other conditions. Ketta Medical Center recently celebrated the opening of its newest location, bringing physician-supervised ketamine therapy to the community. Co-founder and medical director, Dr. Haviva Molina, joins us to talk about it. Good morning, doctor.
Good morning.
So now I know a lot of people are going to hear ketamine and they say, that's cat tranquilizer. It was human tranquilizer before it was cat tranquilizer. I'm tired of people like during the pandemic, they love to say anything that was used in animals, that it's an animal, whatever. It was used in us first, right? Am I correct?
Correct.
Right.
Correct.
So just to make it clear,
that's right.
And ketamine it helps people with their psychological challenges very much, apparently. So talk about how this works.
Sure, absolutely. So, as you pointed out, ketamine has been an anesthetic in humans for decades and decades, and more recently has been shown to have this new use, and it's shown to be very safe and effective to treat depression, in particular depression, where people have tried other types of treatments, other types of medications, either plateaued with them or had side effects, and then they come to ketamine, and it can really change things for them. It's also used for PTSD and anxiety. So it's sort of this old medicine with a new use, and it's really works wonders for many people.
What was the impetus? How did they first determine that it has the secondary use?
Right. So it's always been used in higher doses for sedation, anesthesia. And then about 10 to 15 years ago, they started to study it in lower doses. They would give it to patients actually in the emergency room for pain and for for very severe depression that brought patients to the ER. And then that sort of triggered a whole lot of more research being done in this field. And the literature has really exploded in the last 10 years to the point that now the nasal spray called Spravato, which is S-ketamine, is actually FDA approved and has been for 6 years.
Oh, an interesting way to get
Mhm.
that uptake is through the nose as opposed to having to take a pill,
Yeah.
which do they even have a pill of ketamine? Is that an
So
option?
So there are pills. There are some issues with the pills because those are at-home treatments. So they're you run up against safety issues when you take things at home unsupervised. The types of ketamine at Ketamine Medical Center that we offer is IV ketamine, like the infusions, as well as the FDA-approved Spravato. So that has to be given under doctor supervision. So at our centers, which I think is something that distinguishes us, is that there's always a doctor, a nurse, making sure everything is safely given in one of our centers. So Westfield is actually our newest center. Our first center that I opened 5 years ago was in Oradell, but we've expanded in the New York area since, and we're so happy to be, open now in Westfield also. And we're open on the weekends and the evenings. So people do have to come into the office, to the center to get the treatment, but it is something that we try to make accessible and affordable for our patients.
And that's a good thing because it forces the patient to check in so that the medical professional can see how they're doing. Pardon me, aside from receiving their treatment of ketamine, they get to ask questions. And how are you feeling? Is there anything more you want to
Right.
talk about? Is there anything more you need? How is this treatment working for you, et cetera, as opposed to just giving them pills and hoping they take the right dose of pill at home. Or as we know, many people with depression, not many, but some do skip their meds, and that could be an issue.
Right.
So this way we know
Right.
they're taking them. So who is the typical candidate for this type of treatment, doctor?
Right. So, people come to us for many different sort of avenues and for different reasons. Sometimes, they've been on medications, for years, antidepressants, anti-anxiety medicines, been struggling with PTSD. And, they just haven't moved the needle in some of their symptoms in a way that they hope to, or they've sort of felt like they've plateaued, but they haven't kind of had that breakthrough of sort of feeling present, feeling motivated, not just mood and feeling lighter, but just sort of feeling more joy in their day to day. And I think that's where ketamine comes in for many people. Others can't tolerate the oral medications. Sometimes sort of the medicine was worse than the problem for many people, where they have such bad side effects that it's not worth it for them. So there are many people come to us from sort of many different for many different reasons, and we will, if they don't have their own psychiatrist or therapist, they can see our in-house ones. But most of the time, people come with their own providers. And one of the things we like to do to sort of offer this comprehensive care is I personally will do the consults with every patient, and I will touch base with their psychiatrist, their therapist. Very often, people have multiple providers, and I will make sure everyone's on the same page. We will keep them updated. So we're sort of an adjunct to people's care, mental health care, and we try to work with them to sort of achieve their mental health treatment goals.
You are the physical therapist to the orthopedic surgeon. How's that as an analogy?
There you
Right? Like
go.
kind of
Great
so
motto.
you work
Great
hand in
motto.
glove. See that? You're a
Hmm.
hand in glove. You could use
Totally.
that, by the way. That's yours. It's all yours. So the beautiful part about this is you emphasize that physician supervised care, and we often hear also about treatment resistant depression. So how significant is that issue today, and does ketamine is ketamine the answer to that?
Yeah, so I mean, have found, I mean, these are studies published that are verifiable. 30 to 40% of people that are on antidepressants still have symptoms, do not have symptom relief. So that means that you kind of think that you're prescribing an oral medication and then the problem is taken care of. But first of all, it's a dynamic process. Different things work at different times. Life changes, everything is sort of a moving target. But more than that is that our brain biochemistry shows that ketamine works in a unique way on the brain, and it kind of creates these new neural connections. So people sort of colloquially talk about recircuiting the brain, but there is some grain of truth with ketamine that there is this concept that these new pathways are created, and that is what helps a lot of people kind of make a dent in their what we call treatment-resistant depression symptoms. For many people, treatment-resistant depression can mean just simply that they are not sufficiently treated. Maybe they had a partial response to their oral medications, but they want to see more. And for others, it just means that they have tried every medication in the book. And so we have a gamut of patients coming from sort of different places and really finding ketamine very helpful in their own individual way.
Doctor, what's a website for more information?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's www.ketamc.com. That's Keta Medical Center. So it's ketamc.com. And, you'll get set up with a consult with me. So I do all the medical intakes, and we'll talk about the options and, what makes the most sense for you.
Fantastic. Hedda Medical Center's newest location, Westfield, New Jersey. Co-founder and medical director, Dr. Haviva Molina. Thank you so much for coming on this morning. Best of luck with the new center.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. It is now 36 degrees at 8:28. When we come back, we continue to recognize Women's History Month. The phone lines are open. We'll take your calls at 888-658-0234. And meteorologist Mike Favetta says sun and 49 today. We'll be right back. morning. It's Tuesday, March 24th, 2026. We have a temperature of 32 degrees now at 8:30. I'm Ken Rosato. Welcome back to On New Jersey Mornings. Sunshine today, highs 49. Meteorologist Mike Favetta with a detailed Garden State forecast.
This weather is brought to you by Audio Nova, your hearing experts, serving all of New Jersey with 13 locations.
All right, Mike, we see 49, 49. Do I get 59? Do I see 59, 59, 69, 69? Somebody give me 69. I'm sorry. I'm just going to keep doing that.
I think we could start probably auctioning a lot more, given how long and dark this winter was. But we get a little taste of winter over the next few days, even into this weekend with some chilly weather that returns. So we'll take the sunshine with it. Lots of clear sky headed in our direction this afternoon. Even in southern New Jersey, highs today managed to make it into the upper 40s along the coast and low 50s back west of the Parkway, well inland. You'll also start to notice the tree pollens nice and early this year. And this is usually the case as we head into late March. With the dry, sunny days, the tree pollen goes back to the moderate levels, so the eyes a little itchier, maybe scratchy throat tends to be the issue. Not related to the temperature, but it's all due to the length of day. So even though highs today are around average, making it up into the low 50s, our sunrise and sunsets nice and longer daylight hours, as we now have more daylight during the afternoons, longer daylight hours rather than the shorter nights, if that made any sense. But our forecast brings back a little bit of wet weather as we head into Thursday and Friday. This is typically the case going into Friday morning with that wet weather taking over just in the first part of the day. And then we're back to dry weather, but cool conditions this weekend. So dry and chilly today, lots of sun, but we managed to make it up into the low 50s in spots. And then by tomorrow, some clouds return later on in the day. It looks to be mostly cloudy on this map on Thursday, but I think we get enough sunshine that helps us warm into the upper 60s and low 70s. It'll feel great. Back to some wet weather late Thursday night into Friday morning, and then clear but dry this weekend. A lot cooler though, and it'll feel really chilly heading into our Saturday and Sunday. The 7-day forecast has that lovely warm up ahead to start off our Thursday with temperatures near 70, and then a little bit of rain comes at us early Friday, lasts for the first half of the day, clears out by later on in the day, and then Saturday and Sunday looks beautiful, chilly but sunny, and that sunshine sticks around into Monday of next week. 7-day forecast for the shore points has some of that rain lingering for most of the day down the shore, but at least we clear out for you as well this weekend with, again, chilly temperatures, just a few degrees below average, but sunny again this weekend. So looking dry overall with one day of rain. It's not terrible.
You very much, sir. Appreciate it. It is now 35 degrees northern New Jersey, 32 in Trenton. It's 33 degrees in Vineland and 33 degrees also in Cape May. And we check out the traffic right now. We have a disabled truck, and this is on Route 29 northbound by Warren Street in Trenton. The right shoulder is closed. That right there is Route 46 westbound, west of the Garden State Parkway, Clifton. 2 left lanes of the 3 lanes closed, causing an absolute mess on the Garden State, or on Route 46 westbound, west of the Garden State Parkway, I should say. We have a crash on the GSP northbound at exit 142A by 78 in Hillside. All lanes are open, just causing some delays through there. The Hudson River crossings right now, the Holland Tunnel approach is going to cost you about 35 minutes in. It's 40 minutes at the Lincoln. GWB upper and lower levels, an absolute mess. It's been this way all morning. Stopped. Look at this mess. This is going to cost you 45 to 60 minutes in. That gets you to 179th, and most people end up having to go down south of Manhattan anyway. So you try to avoid the traffic by taking the GWB, and you end up going down getting in rather with an hour delay. What a mess. It is 8:34 right now. We continue to recognize Women's History Month. Joining us to discuss the state of women is Helen Arshantu, who is the CEO of the YWCA of Northern New Jersey. Excuse me, Helen. Good morning to you.
Good morning. So nice to be here. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming on this early morning here. So we have some promises here. We see women comprising 58% of college students. That's a great thing. Almost half of all new businesses are female owned. 55% of all new medical students are female. But there are a lot of places where there are deficits clearly. So how would you describe the state of women today?
Well, I mean, we've definitely had some gains, but I think we have some places that we need to do some work, especially here in New Jersey. We've seen women exiting the workforce, unfortunately, at higher rates over the last few years. We had a little bit of an uptick post-COVID with so many of the favorable workforce policies that were out there, but a lot of those are changing. A lot of companies are taking those return to bringing everyone back into the office, and that really is impacting, the long history that we know of women being the top caregivers in the family. So we are
Mhm.
seeing women exiting the workforce at droves, and we've also seen a drop of women in our New Jersey legislature, and both of those things, really do impact policy and impact, our voices being in the important places for our economy.
I'm glad you said that because right now women only comprise about 30% of all legislative seats in the Assembly and in the Senate in New Jersey, which is kind of surprising. It's a little higher, I think, in New York than in New Jersey. I'm kind of
Yes.
surprised by that because some of the female legislators that I know are dynamic. They're like the best spokespeople for the state. I'm not saying that to blow smoke. In fact, probably the majority of the state assembly and Senate members who I have on when I do radio in New York or here is they're women, and they're the ones who are the best spokespeople. Sorry, guys, just saying. But that representation does matter a lot because there is I think it was Time Magazine who published that cover story a few years ago. Men and women are different. They are.
Yeah.
There's a different approach at the view of life for men and women. That's the beauty of the yin and the yang. So representation does matter.
It does matter, and it also matters about the types of issues that they're bringing to the legislature for policy.
Mhm.
Obviously, different life experience, brings different issues to really to be studied and to be researched and to be, helping shift our culture. So when we're not seeing that representation in places, it really does impact. How we live in New Jersey. So we're so fortunate to see another female governor. We're so grateful to see that change happen in New Jersey. And we do believe that she, obviously has a strong background because of, where she comes from, that she really will be able to make an impact, and also comes as a female veteran. The YWCA happens to be the home of Operation Sisterhood, New Jersey's female veteran program. So, we're so happy to see her there, but we definitely want to see those numbers rise. And we have a large program focused on civic participation at the YWCA of Northern New Jersey. So we are hoping to get more women engaged, and not only in these seats, but staying in these seats long term.
Yeah, and we have a new attorney general, obviously, as well, which is a good thing, and that
Yes.
is a woman. So we there it's definitely you could see the progress. That's the good news. Is there it feels like it's headed in the right direction. As my mom used to point out, and she's still, God bless us, God bless her, alive at almost 88 and still thinking very
Yes.
sharply. She used to run my father's company, take care of us, run a house. She did it all. And any one of us, like my dad would whine about stuff. I would whine about stuff. I've been whining all morning about my sinus infection. My mother never complained. This woman at 80, 87, a couple of months ago, she broke her pelvis in two places and she was still like working. I'm like, stop, just stop. Guys just don't appreciate how much women work and what they mean, what you mean for our society, and how we could not have the society functioning the way it does without women. And you talk about being audacious, authentic, and accountable. So what does that mean in practice for women leaders?
Well, we're just coming off of our annual Women's History Month celebration, which is our women's leadership conference that we just held about 2 weeks ago. And we had about 150 women come together. And we had discussions about audacity, authenticity, accountability. Every year we have a different focus for the conversation. We bring together women leaders to share their stories, and everyone, leaves feeling very lifted and inspired and has a space for themselves. As I always say, everyone can't get to Canyon Ranch with Oprah. So we try to create a mini version of that locally here in New Jersey for them that's affordable, but really fills them up. I mean, this is a very difficult time for women. The national landscape has been very harsh on us. We have had a lot of our rights, taken away from us, and it's definitely a challenging landscape. Again, as I said, we're losing our jobs, we're losing political seats, so we really need to be in community in places like what the YWCA of Northern New Jersey created, and does create throughout the year with different programs to be able to feel supported, feel that you have a community, and feel like you can create a better life for yourself and for those that you care for. Our workforce programs in particular, we have so many of the women that attended our event were part of our workforce initiatives to be able to support anyone who's unemployed or underemployed, and our small business owners we have an incubator to help them kind of take their ideas and, bring them into a full-fledged small business. So all those women came together, sitting side by side, our workforce women, our women through our reentry program, our women veterans, our entrepreneurs, and all of our partners and sponsors, corporate execs, all sitting side by side, shoulder to shoulder, being lifted together. So it was an important day. Not only did they get to feed their souls and be able to dream a little bit about their futures and what they wanted to see for themselves, but they learned and were reminded about all the great resources the YWCA had to offer, and made new connections to be able to help propel themselves from a networking perspective to new opportunities.
As we mentioned earlier, that women are now comprising 49% of all new business owners. In fact, yesterday on this show, we had on two sisters who run what is one of the most successful and highest ranked, among the highest ranked top 10 in the state of New Jersey, pizzerias. I'm sorry, I said that so convolutedly. Spinaccio, it's called, in North Halden. And these women, they opened up this pizzeria about 6 years ago. And in just that short amount of time, it has been critically acclaimed by like all the people in the know. So there's something about the passion, the dedication, the hard work in spite of the challenges that I think women in business tend to offer that men better take notice of and wake up. And any man who's putting up a barrier of some sort, you might want to just step aside. You want your business to succeed? Have a woman run it. Have a woman in charge. And I think we'll see a difference. Every broadcast entity that I ever worked for that had a woman in charge was always the number one in the market. Not again, I could literally cite that. So just with our last minute going right here, what advice do you have for young women who want to break into the business world today? What would you tell them the first thing they should be doing?
Well, I think they should definitely focus their time on finding some good mentors and sponsors to be able to inspire them and to help advocate for them on their behalf and pour into them. The thing, in addition to women being so capable and being able to do so much, they are always willing to share and support, and being able to have someone to be able to support them in their endeavors will go a very long way in terms of their development and success.
With mentors like you, they have a good person to look forward to and look to for guidance. Helen Arshantu, CEO of YWCA Northern New Jersey. We appreciate you very much. It's great to have you as a New Jersey person, and thank you for coming on this morning.
Thank you so much for having me.
You bet. It is 8:43. When we come back on New Jersey as a new program to add to the lineup, we'll talk about it. We'll be right back. Welcome back to On New Jersey Mornings. I'm Ken Rosato. It's 8:45, taking calls at 888-658-0234. Straight to meteorologist Mike Favetta with a final check of the Garden State forecast.
This weather is brought to you by Audio Nova, your hearing experts, serving all of New Jersey with 13 locations.
All right, Mike, the forecast is yours.
Ken, you got to save the best for last because this is the good part of the weather where we look ahead to the warmer, sunnier days. We start this morning nice and sunny, but it's still a little cool, especially with temperatures starting off in the 30s, only climbing to 50 over in Hackensack, 46 in West Milford, and 50 up in Sussex. We add a few degrees each and every day, but also keeping an eye to the longer range, especially for the first few days of April, where the dry weather should take over with below average precip, but it's all about the warm up that's on the way. Above average temperatures for the first week of April, not just for most of the country, but including even us here in New Jersey. So it'll look nice and dry until then, with a few chances for rain. The next chance of rain comes in later Thursday night into Friday. That's after a beautifully warm day as highs climb to near 70. Then the clouds come in, and then we get a little bit of rain for Friday. But the weekend clears out nicely Saturday and Sunday, while chilly, especially in Saturday morning, warms up. Ooh, look at that. We warm up to the 70s again by Tuesday. So that warming trend is coming in quickly, and I think is here to stay after a little bit of a cool down. We're still in that seesaw pattern. The mornings are cold, the afternoons a little warm, but overall, I think we'll trend milder into the first few days of April, Ken.
All right, thank you very much, sir. It is 8:47 right now. Temperature of 32 degrees still in Trenton, 33 in northern New Jersey. Enjoy the day, Mike, by the way. Appreciate it. It's final forecast for the day. 8:47 is our time. We have a disabled truck to report. It's on Route 29 northbound by Warren Street in Trenton. Right shoulder's closed. Let's take a look. Which did you have right now, Pam? Did you want to do the 139 east at the Turnpike? So this is right near the Holland Tunnel. Look at that. Good luck getting to the Holland Tunnel. This is as you get off the Turnpike and you make your way to Route 139 into Jersey City, and you want to get at the Holland Tunnel, get in Manhattan. That's what you're going to face right there, unfortunately. Just a bumper-to-bumper mess. And by the way, those of you heading to the Lincoln Tunnel, it's not that much better. The exit by Columbia Avenue, which takes you over by the Helix, by the 495 there, by we love to say the Lion King sign. There's a big Lion King road banner. That area is also bumper to bumper. Look at that. Just a mess. So all of the Hudson River approaches this morning are an absolute nightmare. That's going to cost you 45 minutes in. So it's 40 minutes at the Holland, 45 minutes at the Lincoln, and not so fast, you GWB people. Check this out. GWB upper and lower level has been bumper to bumper since 7 o'clock this morning, and that's going to cost you 45 to 60 minutes in. Ugh. Okay. Good luck. Hopefully by 10 a.m., everything will be light. There is a new addition coming to the On New Jersey lineup. It is all about innovation, insight, and looking ahead. Tris Pharma is launching a new show called Focus Forward. It's designed to spotlight important conversations shaping the future. Cheryl Patnick is the Chief Administrative Officer, and Manesh Naidu is the Chief Commercial Officer. We say thank you both for being here, and congratulations on the new show.
Thank you, Ken. Thanks. Yeah, thanks for having us.
You bet. And I'm so sorry that I have to greet you sounding like I have a giant frog in my throat. Hopefully something from Tris Pharma can cure me. That would be wonderful. Talk about the idea of Focus Forward. How did it first come about?
So Focus Forward is about innovation that's happening right here in New Jersey. And what we wanted to do is talk about or have a forum for talking about all the great stuff that's happening to transform medicine. And that's actually happening, a lot of it right here in New Jersey.
I think a lot of people don't realize that New Jersey is one of the epicenters for pharmaceuticals in the entire United States. And while a lot of the pharmaceutical companies have closed in other states, New Jersey is still home to a number. What topics can viewers expect?
Thanks, Ken. Yeah, it is. And we have large companies and we have medium-sized companies like ours too. In today's show, the first one of these, what the viewers are going to hear is about ADHD. So ADHD is a condition that's actually quite prevalent. There's, according to the CDC, there's over 15 million adults with ADHD, over 7 million children, And so it's a condition that is quite widespread, and it can have a devastating effect on people's lives. It affects everything from education levels to income levels to hospitalizations to accident rates. And in fact, a recent study even showed that it can have an effect on mortality rates. And so it's quite a serious condition. But really, a lot of the show today and what ADHD is about is the hope, because the treatments that are there for ADHD can really reverse a lot of those effects of ADHD. So we want people to find out about the condition, find out, and so today's show is going to focus on what is ADHD, what are the treatments available, both other treatments but also medications that are available, and they're going to learn a little bit about the different technologies that are used to treat ADHD in the different medications. And they'll hear a little bit about, they'll hear a little bit about Triss's medications too, but they'll finally also hear about a success story. We have a patient and a mother who are going to be there on the show, and they'll talk about their journey through ADHD and the success that they had in getting diagnosed and treated.
I think back to so many people I know, older adults whom I look at and I think about their lives and I know not that I'm a doctor, but they exhibit all of the classic symptoms of ADHD. And if only 50 years ago or 60 years ago they had treatment, I think their lives would have turned out quite differently. And the fact that we can diagnose it and we can treat it today quite successfully is an amazing thing. Who are some of the voices or guests you'd like to highlight?
So we're fortunate. We have one of the world-renowned experts in ADHD, Dr. Cutler, who's going to be talking about the condition and the options available. We also have Dr. Potenziano, who's our head of medical, who will be talking about some of the technologies that are available to use to treat this condition. And finally, you'll hear from this patient that I was talking about, this young patient with ADHD called Teddy, and his mother, Teresa, who are going to talk about their journey through ADHD. So those are the different people that you'll hear from, or the viewers will hear from.
What's the hope in terms of Focus Forward standing out from other programming that does something similar? How do you want Focus Forward to be unique?
Cheryl, do you want to handle this?
Yeah, we would like Focus Forward to be unique, really in just capturing the essence of innovation that is happening right here in New Jersey. So Focus Forward is really dedicated to sharing breakthroughs that advance healthcare. And for us and for Triss, for over 25 years, we've been right here in Monmouth Junction, New Jersey, focused on shaping the future of CNS health, of leading in ADHD, redefining pain medication, and really driving innovation through our portfolio. And those are just some of the types of organizations that we really want to work with and highlight here with Focus Forward.
The fact that Triss Pharma is a mid-sized pharmaceutical company and it's New Jersey based, how important was that for the show and for a project like this?
I think for us, really important to highlight, right, there's all, from a company perspective, there's all sizes within. We've been here 25 years, some less, some more, and we want to make sure that there's an opportunity really for all company voices to be heard. And one other thing I would even say for what's important for us is that here at Triss, it's not just about product sales. So we also recognize, and other organizations do as well, that medication may not be the right choice for everybody. And so we're committed to providing education and to providing resources for patients, for caregivers, for the professional community, and even advocacy organizations, just to make sure that everybody gets the right information to make the most informed decisions.
So what is the means by which the show will connect best with viewers in New Jersey? Because I'm assuming this is going to be a New Jersey focused show.
Yeah. Maybe I'll go first, and then Manesh, you go. I think from a connection standpoint for me, and I think of even connecting Triss with the viewership, like we are really grounded in what we call our culture of care. And I think that care is going to be what resonates, particularly even with this show. Like as Manesh was describing, right, a mom and her son just caring enough to be vulnerable and to talk about being advocates and why that's important for parents. And even then for Dr. Potenziano and Dr. Cutler to share and to care enough to share about education and about resources, really so that we can get information out to the viewers and connect with them in that way.
And give us a preview of this first episode. You talked a little bit about ADHD, and for those who don't realize, that's attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. And there are so many young people who suffer from it, but there are a lot of older people who also suffer from it. Uh, do you think that there are enough people who recognize it in themselves, or their doctors recognize it among their older patients?
Yeah, so one of the fastest growing groups of patients is actually adults, and in fact, it's adult women who are being diagnosed because many times they were not diagnosed as kids for various reasons. Our understanding and our knowledge, generally speaking, of the condition has really improved, and so people are starting to recognize and see it in themselves. They hear about it on social media sometimes, in the news a little bit more, and so they've been coming forward. But it's really important. I have to say this to get diagnosed by a professional, because unless you go to a professional and have it properly diagnosed, not only will you make sure that it's ADHD versus some other condition or issue that you might be dealing with, but also there's very many nuances to ADHD. So it's important to get diagnosed by a professional, and they can also help you with the various treatments. But I really do think that the knowledge of the condition is improving, and that's causing people to come forward a little bit more. And like Cheryl said, be a little vulnerable about seeking treatment. Because the good news about ADHD is, as much as it affects your lives, it's eminently treatable. And that's what we want to communicate and make sure people.
And that is the key there. When can people tune into the show?
They can tune in right here on the OnNJ platform today at 12. So Focus Forward will air with Laura Jones at 12 today.
Fantastic. The show is called Focus Forward from Tris Pharma, the newest addition to the On New Jersey lineup. Cheryl Patnick, Chief Administrative Officer, Manesh Naidu, Chief Commercial Officer. Thank you both for coming on this morning. Best of luck with the new show. We'll be checking you out today.
Fantastic.
Thank you, Ken.
Thank you, Ken.
You bet. And have a good day. That's great. Nice to see the lineup growing. It is now 34 degrees at 8:57. We'll see you again tomorrow.